Hello and welcome. Today I am going to play Saipan scenario from the Pacifc 1941-1945 game, and this is a scenario that covers the Battle of Saipan, which was one of the bloodiest battles in the Marianas archipelago. Japanese plan was to let Americans land on the beaches and then destroy their forces in the one big counterattack. Well, this plan sounds good, but only on paper. Despite such plans, Japanese forces were too weak to make it, and even if they gathered a good number of tanks on the island, it wasn't enough to destroy Americans. But despite the fact that they couldn't destroy American forces on the beaches, they still put a very stiff resistance, turning battles for this island into very bloody and long combat, with most of the defenders being killed, mostly by the attackers, but a lot of them simply committed suicides, often jumping off the cliffs into the sea. So, here we have this scenario, and this is one of the biggest battles in this game that contains mostly smaller scale operations. And now, when it comes to the victory conditions, these are pretty interesting because American player gains a number of victory points, which is related to the day when all the Japanese forces on the island are destroyed. So the sooner he will wipe out Japanese army, the more points he will get. But he also gets negative victory points, and for each lost strength point of his units, he loses 1 point, and for each unit that enters the game as reinforcement, he also gains -1 victory point. And American player gets a lot of reinforcements. Here they are. This includes entire American 27 division, a lot of units for 2nd Marines division, a couple of units from 4th division, and some artillery support, tank support, etc. A lot of them, really. But we cannot simply take all of them because it will give us too many negative victory points, so we might lose simply because we will use too many reinforcements. So also American player is limited because of the number of amphibious units he has, because he can only get more reinforcements with amphibious units he possesses. So that's all. Like in every scenario from this game, each day takes 2 turns, one daily turn and one night turn. This is a difference from many other games of this series, where there are two daily turns and 1 night turn, but this particular game contains one daily turn and 1 night turn only. So that's all when it comes to the introduction. We can start our game, and we are starting with air phase. Only American player has air units in this scenario, and he gets 2 ground attack Air Force units he's going to set up here, and they can be used to support American units or to perform their independent attacks, but I think I will use them simply to support my units. Next, I have 2 naval support groups, and I'm going to use one of them to make attack against the Japanese artillery, because Japanese player has a couple of artillery units, both long range and some mortars that have a short range, and this artillery can be dangerous for the landing units. So the better we should take care of this artillery as quick as possible. Okay, so I will start, and I am firing with this group on that artillery. So my strength is 7, and this is heavy artillery, so I got +2 because of using heavy artillery in barrage, and they have strength of 4. So I will use a table for units with 1/4 strength, and the verse of the attacker 7-10, and I get +2 because of the barrage and -2 because of the terrain. -1 because of the fortification and -1 because of the roof terrain. So this is these two sets of modifiers nullify each other, so I simply make a roll and see what I will get. Oh hell! The best result possible. I got 6, so this is -2. So this artillery suffers 2 hits. I will be placing counters on them, and I will include losses in the strength points sheet later to make it faster. Okay, so now I can make a land. And now, Japanese player has a couple of artillery units, and they can fire at the landing groups. So let's make a land. These are amphibious units, they land by themselves, and they are landing here along with these 2 infantry units. Now these tanks are landing here, they are landing there, and now this artillery fires at them. It lost 2 points, so now it has only 1. This is interesting because it had 4, but since it lost 2, it remains with 1. Yes, there is no 3. It reflects the fact that artillery is in general much more vulnerable for losses than regular units. So they are firing with 2, so let me check a table where artillery fires at landing units. Sorry, they are firing with 1. So I'm going to use verse 1, 3 and 5. This is a miss. Okay, so they are landing next. They are also landing, and this artillery fires at them. It has full strength, so it fires with 4. So we will use a verse of 4, 6 and 8. For the 4, 6, this is 1 hit. So one of them will have to suffer 1 hit. They are landing, they are landing, and they are landing, and now this artillery has them in range 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it fires, it has a strength of 2, so this is a miss. Okay, the landing was pretty good. Americans didn't suffer much losses, so that's pretty nice for them. And now they landed, and since all their units were landing, they now can only use half of their movement points. So there won't be much to move, and the fact they have a very limited space to move. So these tanks will go here, this amphibious group will go there. Now you can see that there are snipers here. Snipers are very deadly enemies. They are not very strength, they have only 1 point of strength, but every infantry unit that attacks snipers has its strength divided by 3. So rounding up, of course, so they can be very effective against enemy infantry. So they will go here, they will go there. I would love to make my way to these artillery positions and to destroy them as quick as possible, so it will spare me a lot of tears and sweat. So I will leave this group there. They are fortifying themselves to protect this wing. And now after I made all my movement, a Japanese player might decide for counterattack. What it means? They can move their units that are in the 1 hex range from American units and that are not in the enemy zones of control. And these units might move 1 hex to get into hexes that are adjacent to American units and to attack them. I don't think I have any good idea, good place where I can perform any counterattack. I mean, here they can move here and there and attack them, but I don't think it will do me much good. So no, I'm not going to do so. And now I can go on and launch American attacks. But first I will include these losses. So I have these 2 ground attack air force groups that I can use to support my attacks. So I will use one of them here and one of them there. And now, let's start here. I have, they are in the roof terrain, so they have, they are in the woods. Well, this is pretty important, because when tank unit is in the woods, it has its strength halved. Let me check if I am correct. Yes. So they have 3, 7, and 2. Sorry, 2, because these are snipers. So 7, 5, 9, 11, 13, and 13 plus 5. This is 18. So we have 18 versus 4. 18 versus 4 will be 4 to 1. 5 to 1 because of the combat engineers, and 6 to 1 because of the star. I cannot use these stars because these tanks are in the woods, and when your tanks are in the woods you don't get star modifiers. So it is 6 to 1, and now 5 to 1 because of the fortification, and 4 to 1 because of the roof terrain. So this is 4 to 1. Oh hell, amazing! This is 2, and 2 in the column of 4 to 1 is B3. So Japanese group has to retreat 3 hexes. 1, 2, and 3. And now I can perform a pursuit. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, that's good. So here they are. And now let's roll for the losses. Americans had 18, so they have 60-20. They had +1 because of the star, and -2 because of the terrain. So it's 11, 15, and 12. 2 losses. So we will say goodbye to these snipers, since we have to get these losses equally between units that were fighting, and snipers have only 1 strength point, so they will be done. And now American losses. Japanese forces had 4, +2 -1, so it's 6, 10, and 8. This is one loss. Okay, next combat. 3, 7, 11, and 15. 15 versus 3. This is 5 to 1, 4 to 1, 3 to 1 because of the woods, 3 to 1 and 4, so it is B2. So Japanese force unit has to retreat 2 hexes, 1, 2. Now, have to say that Americans have amazing rolls at the beginning. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and now losses. 11, 15, -2, 4, 5, so 10. Japanese unit lost 1 point, and Japanese had 3 + 2, it's 6, 10, and 2. Wow, Americans also lost 2 points. So this was bloody combat. Now we have 2 more here to resolve. First, 5, 9, 13, 13 plus 3 is 16, 16 plus 4 is 20, so it is 20 and 4, and I will give them this mortar support, so it's 5, so it is 20 to 5, so this is 4 to 1, 5 to 1 because of the combat engineers, and 4 to 1 because of the fortifications, and 3 to 1 because of the roof terrain. So it's 3 to 1 and 10. Oh hell. Okay, this is nothing. So both sides stay where they are. So let's calculate the losses. Americans had 20 and they had -2 because of the terrain, so it's 6, 10 and 9, 1 loss for Japan. and Japanese player had 5 plus 2, it's 11, 15, and 7, 1 loss for Americans. Nothing really dangerous. And the final attack. They are both attacking here, and they will use support of this naval group, but I have to check if they hit. If I will roll doubles, they will hit some other hex. 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So they hit this hex instead, and we have to make a fire against these mortars. And they have 6. So they are firing with 6, and they have -3. -1 because of the fortification, -2 because of the mountain, so it's -3 and 6. Wow! -3, it's 3. This is one hit. So yes, they actually, I think they actually managed to hit these mortars. Yes, they lost. These mortars lose 1 point. But well, I cannot use their strength to support this attack. So 4, 8, and 12. 12 versus 3. 12 versus 4. This is 3 to 1. 4 to 1 because of the combat engineers, 4 to 1, and 3 to 1 because of the fortification, 2 to 1 because of the roof terrain, so this is 2 to 1 and 3. Americans have really good rolls. 2 to 1 and 3, B2. So they have to retreat 2 hexes. That's bad. 1, 2, and they are moving 1 and 2, and they are moving like that. Okay. Well, I think they are doing better than they did in the actual battle. So, losses. Americans had 11, 15, -2, it's 4, 5, and 5, no losses for Japanese unit, and Japanese unit had 4, 5, plus 2, it's 11, 15, 2 losses for Americans. So they are getting some ground and gaining advantage, but both sides are bleeding. Okay, so that's all for American combat phase. There is no supply phase in these games of the Pacific War, so we can skip it, and this is going to be the everything for American part of this turn. Now, what Japanese forces can do? Their plan to attack Americans right after the beginning is now falling down, because you can see how Americans are progressing. So I need to make some kind of defensive positions. So they will fortify themselves here, and these are light anti-air guns. They are effective against air units, but they can also be effective against enemy infantry units, since they're halving attacking infantry strength. So that's good, and they are fortifying themselves. This battalion goes here, since we need to protect these guns. These mortars will retreat here. And now I have a couple of tanks here. They are not very strong, but well, better than nothing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Another rights here, and now I will keep this one as the reserve. And now this part of the front. I think I might try to launch my attack. I will take these 2 battalions supported by tanks to make it. And I would like to send these tanks there as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so they can't make there. And is that all for Japanese forces? I guess that's all. Now we have American counterattack phase, and now I don't think that Americans can make any counterattacks because all their units are already in the enemy zones of control, and you cannot make counterattacks if your units are in enemy zone of control. So no American counterattacks, and we have Japanese attacks. We have one attack here, and now I have 1, 4. They have, let me check, 4, 5, and 8. So I have 8 versus 4. So this is 2 to 1 and 1 to 1 because of the fortification, 1 to 2 because of the woods. So not an easy attack. 1 to 2 and 5. This is a draw. No one has to retreat. And now let's check for losses. Japanese player had 8, so it's 6, 10 and minus 2. It is 2, 3. Oh wow! 12 in the 2, 3. This is one hit. Oh, I forgot about one thing. I will make it in a moment. And now let's check for Japanese losses. Americans had 4 and plus 2. It's 11, 15. And 7. This is one hit. And the thing I forgot about. They used tanks, and Americans have this light anti-tank weapons unit. So they can fire at these tanks, and they are firing with the strength of 0 in the fire combat table. 7 in 0. This is a miss. Now I have to make a roll if they weren't destroyed. 5. If I would roll 1, they would be destroyed. So 1 hit here and 1 hit there. And that's all when it comes to the Japanese attacks. Yes, I don't have any other Japanese units that can make their attacks. So this concludes first daily turn of the game. We can go into the night turn. And when it comes to night turns, they are turns when your options are very limited. You cannot use artillery, you cannot use air units, you cannot use naval support. If your units are attacking, they have their strength halved, and you also make a roll to see if you won't get any more nasty modifiers. So this is not a moment where you want to attack, or maybe I should say something like this. You can attack in the night turns, and if you have some devastating advantage, you might actually try. But if not, you would better wait. So, what I'm going to do, they will fortify themselves. Same goes to them. Here. And there too. Now do they want to make an attack against this Japanese unit? I think it would be very risky still. I have a good number of strong units here, so it is really tempting to try. Okay, I will do it. Why not? So they are fortifying themselves all, and now no one is attacking. Sorry, no one is counter-attacking on Japanese side. No one. So we can resolve American attacks. But first, these losses. So my strength is halved. So I have 2, 4, 6, and 9. So I have 9 versus 3. It is 3 to 1. So and they have 2 to 1 because of the fortification, and 1 to 1 because of the roof terrain. I have no combat engineers, so this is 1 to 1. And now I have to make a roll to see if nothing bad happened, if they don't get any more nasty modifiers for night attack. I got 4, so no modifiers. That's great. So this is 1 to 1. Let's make a roll. And 4. Wow. Americans are lucky again, because 4 in 1 to 1, this is B1. So defender retreats 1 hex. So they are digging even deeper into Japanese positions. Good. And now let's calculate the losses. Americans had 8, so this is 9, so this is 6, 10, and minus 2, this is 2, 3. This is a miss. Japanese unit had 3 plus 2, this is 6, 10, and 7, this is a miss. So no one suffers any losses, and these are all American attacks. So now Japanese forces. And now there is one interesting case about the Japanese units. In the first night turn of each game, where they are fighting at the Pacific, of course, they have a special rule saying that all the units that have American units in their zones of control during the first night turn and during the combat phase have to attack. This is kind of a specialty of Japanese army. They always tried to counterattack at the first night, and mostly they suffered heavy losses because of that, gaining nothing. So we have to think about it, because if our units will stay in American zones of control now, they will have to make these suicidal attacks. So I will move here, they will move there, this artillery will get here, now I don't want to leave these positions because they are pretty good. I am fortified, I have a support of anti-air artillery, but if I will stay here I will have to attack these Americans, and it will probably end with disaster, because this is also a night attack with all its consequences. It's not easy to be Japanese commander here, trust me. So I think I will retreat anyway here, because in the night turn you can only move per 1 hex or 2 movement points. This is another important limitation, and they will also get out of here. They don't want to attack at night. And finally them. They are retreating deeper into the island. A good thing is that this rule works only in the first night turn of each scenario. In the following night turns you are not forced to make this stupid suicidal counterattacks. So I think that's all when it comes to Japanese movement. Yes, next we have American counterattacks phase. No, so if Americans want to counterattack, no, because it would also work with all these negative modifiers of night combat. And now we have Japanese combat phase. So no Japanese unit is in enemy zone of control, save to these anti-air units, but they cannot attack. They can only be attack enemy air units, and otherwise they can be used in defense only, so they are safe. They don't have to counterattack. But no else Japanese units have to attack. This is good. But because of that, they gave a couple of terrain to Americans without much combat. So this might be tough later. So this concludes our first day of the battle. We are going into day 2, and starting with day 2, we have to make a weather check at the beginning of each day. At the first day of every scenario, weather is good. And next we have to make rolls. We got 3. 3, this means that weather is good. That's great. So we will be able to use our air units, our naval units, without much problems. So that's the beginning of the new day, and Americans can, if they want, get some reinforcements. Like I said, you are free to use as many as you want, but remember about the consequences. And another important thing, it is not a good. It sounds like a good idea to get as many artillery as possible. Yes, but not until enemy has his own artillery that can fire at landing units. I learned from my own experience that sometimes your artillery can suffer really heavy damage because of enemy artillery firing at it when it lands. So I won't make any artillery units landing so far, and I think I will get some infantry units first. So here they are. I decided to land another 4 Marines battalions, and now enemy artillery can fire at them. So this artillery fires at them. It has a strength of, I believe, 1 only. Yes, they only have strength of 1, but still they can fire. Let's see if they hit. Oh, shit. Well, this happens. 5. So this is a miss. And now the other artillery unit. It is here, so it fires there with the strength of 4. Oh, wow. Yes, you can see that's why I didn't want to land my artillery. This is 2, so they suffer 3 hits there, and if it would be artillery, they would be probably hit hard. Artillery is somehow a glass cannon. It can be very strong and effective, but it is also very vulnerable for any kind of losses. So that's all when it comes to American landing phase. Now I can make my movement. So what I'm going to do, this group, this is roof terrain, so let me check how many movement points do I have to spend with leg units. 1.5. So they move here as 1.5 and 3 there. They go here. They will have to get rid of these anti-air units first. These battalions are landing, but they have their movement ability limited because of the landing, so they can only move like that. And next, they will have to get rid of Japanese forces from this hex. No other option for me. They will try to get Japanese mortars here, and they will make their land and move here. Let's keep these 3 to remember that they suffered 3 losses. And I believe that's all when it comes to the American movement. Yes, that's all. Next we have Japanese counterattack phase, and let me check if Japanese player can make any counterattack. Well, they still technically can attack here, but you could see that it was rather pointless without more stronger units. So no Japanese counterattacks, and now we can resolve American attacks. Okay, these tanks are attacking these anti-air guns, so they can fire at them. They have a strength of 4 against the defense of 1, so this is +3, -1 because of the fortification, so it's 2, and -1 because of the roof terrain, so it's 1. So they are firing with the strength of 1, and they have a strength of 4, so they fire twice. So two times with a strength of 0. 5, 1 hit, and 2 hits. So they suffer 2 hits, and now these guns are firing. They have 1 versus 4, so they are firing with -3. This is a miss. So they get 2 hits, so they are eliminated. Great. We took them without actual combat, and we can take this hex. Now this amphibious unit fires here. It can fire twice, but it has a strength of 1, -1 is 0, -2, -1, -2. So they fire twice with -2, miss and miss, and these guns are firing once with 1, -1, so it is 0 and miss. Okay, So now let's resolve a combat. We have 4, 6 and 8 because this this anti-tank gun halves their infantry strength. So we have 8 versus 1, so it's 8 to 1. 8 to 1, 7 to 1 because of the fortification, 6 to 1 because of the roof terrain, and 6 in the roof terrain, it is B2. And they have movement ability of 0, so they have to suffer 2 losses, and because of that they are eliminated. Okay, so this airfield is taken. I have also to make a roll for the American losses. Japanese unit had strength of 1 and plus 2, so it's 4, 5 and 7, no losses for Americans. That's great. So we managed to destroy 2 of these guns. And now they are attacking here. I will give them support of this AO unit. And now 4, 8, 12 and 4, so it's 16. 16 versus 3. 16 versus 3 will be 5 to 1. 6 to 1, 7 to 1 because of the stars. 7 to 1 and 6 to 1 because of the roof terrain. So it's 6 to 1 and 8. 6 to 1 and 8. This is B2, and they cannot retreat because all the possible retreat hexes. Oh no, well, wait, they can. Here and there. So good, they can retreat. I thought they cannot, and they would suffer casualties because of that. So they are pursuing here. They are pursuing here, and they move here. Since you can move 1 hex out of the enemy retreat road. And now losses. Let me check. It is 11, 15. Minus plus 2 because of the stars, minus 2 because of the terrain, so it is still 11, 15. Sorry, no, it's 16, 20. 16, 20 and 7, still 1 loss for Japanese unit only. And the Japanese unit had 3, plus 2, minus 2, 0. So 2, 2, 5, in the 2, 3, it is nothing. So no losses for Americans. That's good. Now I will use this AO group here, and now these ships are supporting this attack, so let's see if they hit this hex. They hit, so they provide 7 points, and we got 7 plus 8, so it's 15. 15 plus 4, it is 19. 19 plus 4, this is 23. This is 23 versus... Oh, I forgot about these snipers. Sorry for that. And one more thing about this gun. Okay, so forget about everything I said. We have to check for some things now. First, these tanks are firing into this gun. They have a strength of 4, and they are and they have armor of 1. So this is plus 3. Minus 1 because of the fortification, so it's 2. And minus 2 because of the mountain, so it's 0. So they are firing 2 times with the strength of 0. Miss and a hit. So they scored 1 hit on these guns. And these guns are firing with 1, minus 4, so it's 3. This is a miss. I said minus 3. Okay, and now we can check attacker's strength, but I forgot about these snipers. So 7, 9, 11, 15 and 17. So this is 17 versus 1, 2 and 5 and 6. So this is 17 versus 6, so it will be 3 to 1. 4 to 1 because of the combat engineers, 3 to 1 because of the fortification, 2 to 1, 1 to 1 because of the mountain. I cannot use stars for when I attack into the mountain. So this is 1-1, and we got 7. So both sides stay where they are. And now let's calculate the losses. Americans had 16-20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 6, no losses for Japanese side. And the Japanese side has 6-10, 1, 2, 3, 21, 25. Oh, sounds bad. 8 in the 21, 25. 2 losses on American side. Okay, and the last attack here. I have 4 and 8 plus 5. 5 plus 8, it is 13. And now these ships are firing. Let's check if they hit. They hit. So it was 13 plus 6, it is 19. 19 versus 1, 4 and 5. So it's 19 versus 5, it is 4-1. 5-1 because of the combat engineers, 4-1, 3-1 because of the mountain. So it is 3-1 and 6. This is B1, so they have to retreat 1 hex, and every artillery unit which is made to retreat, it suffers a number of hits equal to the number of hexes it had to retreat. So these mortars suffer 1 hit, and where they are, so they are eliminated because they had only 1 point. Americans are making their pursuit here. And now let's calculate losses after combat. Americans had 19 and minus 2. So 16-20 minus 2, it will be 6-10, and 3 in the 6-10, 1 hit. Japanese side has 5 and plus 2, it is 11-15, and 9 in the 11-15, it is 1. So one loss for Americans as well. And this concludes American combat phase. I think it was quite effective combat phase. Japanese side suffered some losses. Their artillery is still alive. This is a problem, because I wanted to get rid of this nasty artillery, and so far I failed. And now that's all for Americans in this turn. So this is Japanese part of this turn now, and they are going to be cornered here, so let them fortify themselves. This is the best they can do. Now I have to try to save this artillery, so this is 3, 5. They fortify themselves into this town, or rather village. They will be defending. They, well, 1.5, 2, 3 and 4. These tanks, well, I can still keep them in reserve. And now I wonder if I should try to counterattack this group, or I should rather keep these forces, because I might need them for the further defense of this half of the island. You can tell that this part is probably already lost for Japanese side. They are firing here at this small part, and all this area is controlled by Americans. I think this group is going to be surrounded and eliminated sooner or later. The real problem will be the other half of the island, but we have a time. I think so far that Americans are doing good. So now, what Japanese side can do now? I think a little. I think very little. So that's all for them. They are not moving much. Oh no! One more thing. I want to move 1, 2, 3. Let this tank stay here for now. And now we have American counterattack phase, and let me check if Americans want to counterattack anywhere. And no, they cannot, because most of the units are in the enemy zones of control, and those that are not have no good positions from where they can counterattack. So this concludes Japanese actions, and because Japanese side is not attacking anywhere, and this concludes daily turn. We are moving into night turn of the second day of the combat, and we are starting with Americans. So I think that Americans will do the same as before, so they will fortify themselves to not suffer too heavy losses in the night attacks. They are moving here. Remember that American player loses his victory points for the lost strength points of his forces. So he has, he doesn't want to perform attacks that will cost him too much losses. So I would rather wait until the day turn. So that's all. Do we have any Japanese counterattacks? No, I don't think so. Yes, Japanese side is not counterattacking, and Americans are not attacking anywhere. Like I said, I don't have any attacks, any places where my attacks would be very effective against very weak Japanese forces. So this concludes second day of the combat, and we can start day third. So let's start with weather roll. 9. Oh, does it mean that weather is changing? 9 when the weather is good. Yes, it gets worse. So this is this might be a problem. And let's check what it means when it is not bad but worse. Okay, so such weather might affect our reinforcements because landing units might suffer some additional losses, and before every air action we need to make a roll, and if we get 4, 5 or 6, such action is nullified. So let's start turn. I will get these 2 AO units, and now I'm not going to use any reinforcements because they might suffer losses because of this worse weather at the sea. So I will have to fight with my the units that I already have on the board. Okay, so no reinforcements. So now they are moving here, and amphibious cannot move cannot move into the mountains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They will go here. These 2 battalions will go here. They will attack this position, and now 1.5, 3, and 4.5. So that's when it comes to the American movement. Yes, that's all. We can now resolve American attacks. First of all, let's check for Japanese counterattacks. Still no good situation for counterattack. So let's go and launch our attacks. I will start here. I have 4. Oh, first of all, I need to make a tank combat because I have these tanks here. So I have 4 versus 2, so it's +2, and -1 because of the fortification, -1 because of the roof terrain, so it's 0. So I have 2 hits with strength of 0. This is 5, 1 hit, and the other 3, 2 hits. Great. So I think these tanks are done. Let me check. No, they still have 1 point left. So they can fire back once. 10, they missed. Okay, so now let's calculate our strength. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, and 32. So I have 32 versus 1 and 3. So 32 versus 4, it is 8 to 1. And 8 to 1, 9 to 1 because of the combat engineers, and 10 to 1 because of the stars, and 9 to 1 because of the fortification, 8 to 1 because of the roof terrain, and 7 to 1 because of the star. So it's 7 to 1, and we got 8, 7 to 1 and 8. This is B2, so they have to retreat 2 hexes. 1, 2. They can make a pursuit. 1, 2, and 1. Okay, so now let's check for losses. Americans had 32, so it's 31, 35. 1, 2 for 2 stars. -1 for 1 star of the enemy. -2 for the terrain, so it's 26, 30 verse. 9. These are 2 losses. And now Japanese player had 4, 1 for the star, 1, 2 for the terrain, and -2 because of the stars, so it's 6, 10, and 8. 1 loss for Americans. Okay. Next battle goes here. I will use my air support. So I have, let me check their strength, 4, 8, and 13. 13 versus 2. This is 6 to 1, 7 to 1, 8 to 1, 7 to 1, 6 to 1. So it's 6 to 1 and 3. Oh, 6 to 1 and 3. This is B3. And they cannot retreat. Wait, or they can? Yes, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. 1, 2, and 3. I will move like that to surround them completely. Okay, and now let's calculate the losses. It was 13, so 11, 15, plus 2 for the stars, -2 because of the terrain, so it's 11, 15, and 8. 1 loss for Japanese unit, and Japanese unit had 3, so this is +2 -2, so nothing. Okay. Oh, I forgot to roll for this AO unit because oh, okay, so let's say that it was for this unit and it will be unable to use because of the wars, of the weather being worse. Now, this combat. I have 9 versus 1 and these tanks have, let me check, 2. So it's 9 versus 3, so it's 3 to 1, 2 to 1 because of the fortification, 1 to 1 because of the town, and 1 to 2 because of the roof terrain. So it's 1 to 2, 11. Oh hell, 1 to 2 and 11. This is A2. So attacker retreats 2 hexes. 1, 2. So Japanese defenders made it. And now losses. They have 6, 10, -3, so it's no losses for Japanese units, and Japanese units had 4, 1, 2, 3, 16, 20, 7, 1 loss on American side. And now them, they have 7 versus 4. 7 versus 4, it will be 2 to 1, 3 to 1 because of the combat engineers, 2 to 1 because of the roof terrain. So it is 2 to 1, and 7, this is A1. So they have to retreat 1 hex, and because of that, this artillery suffers 1 loss. Okay, and now let's resolve the losses. We had 7 minus 1, so it's 4, 5. 4, 5 and 8, no losses for Japanese units, and Japanese units had 4 plus 1, so it's 6, 10, and 4 in the 6, 10, 1 loss for Americans. Okay, and one more combat. I will use both of my naval group to support this attack. So first roll for them, they hit, and now for them, they hit. So I got 13 plus 2, 15, plus 2, it's 17, 17 plus 5, this is 22, 22 plus 2, it's 24, 26 and 28. So I have 28 versus 1, 2 and 3. So 5. So it is 28 versus 5. So this is going to be 6 to 1. And now 5 to 1 because of the fortification, 4 to 1, 3 to 1 because of the mountain. So it's 3 to 1 and 9. This is B1. So defender has to retreat 1 hex. So they are retreating here, and this infantry can go, these tanks cannot, because tanks cannot enter mountain. And now let's calculate the losses. They had 26, 30, 1, 2 and 3, so Japanese losses are in the 11, 15, 9, this is 1 hit, and one more important thing, there is artillery here, and this artillery also suffers 1 loss. So it is eliminated. It suffers this loss because it had to retreat. Now American losses, they had a Japanese player had 5, so it's 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 60, 20. And 6, 1 loss for Americans. So that's the entire combat. Yes, that's the entire combat. So now we will go to Japanese side. Okay, what Japan can do? They are retreating here because there is a mountain. They cannot retreat because there are enemy zones of control all over there. So they fortify themselves to fight until the end. For the Emperor, they are fortifying themselves into these mountains. They don't want to move on the same hex with all these other Japanese units because they could be surrounded easily and attacked from multiple directions, and since they wouldn't be able to retreat, they would have to suffer more losses. So nothing we would like to see. And now this side, well, they will simply defend. So that's all for for Japanese movement. Now Americans can perform any counterattacks? Well, they cannot. I mean, they can move here because they are already in the enemy zone of control. So it would be pointless. So no counterattacks for Americans. We can go into the night turn. So night turn. Like always, I'm not a big fan of attacking in the night turns, so I will fortify them here, them here. These tanks will get out of here because they are useless in the mountains. And now I wonder if I can make attack here, try to get rid of this one Japanese unit. It is surrounded, so I would attack from three directions. I think it makes sense actually. They will go here, they will go there, they will go there, and I think this group should be enough to clear this part of the island, so I am attacking them. I have this is night attack, so my strength is halved. So 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10. I have 10 versus 2. So it's 5 to 1. Now I need to make a roll for the night attack. It is -2. So it was 5 to 1, so it is 4 to 1, 3 to 1. And I have combat engineers, so it is 4 to 1. So this is totally 4 to 1. Oh, 9. 11 in the 4 to 1. This is nothing. No one has to road. So my great plan of making them road and suffer losses failed. So let's calculate the losses after combat. We had 10 and there is -2 because of the terrain and -2 because of this night attack modifier, so it's 1. And they suffered a loss. Amazing. So now American losses. They had 1, they had 2, plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, 60, 20, and 10. These are 2 losses for Americans. Oh, horrible. And that's all when it comes to the American failed night attack. So let's check for the losses. These are B and C groups. Seems like I might need more tanks later. So this concludes the American actions in this night turn. Let's go to the Japanese turn. So they are fortifying themselves on this mountain. They will stay here, they will stay there. So nothing else to do for the Japanese player. So this concludes 3rd day of the operation. I think this is also a good moment to finish this part of the video. I think Americans made quite a good progress. They cleaned a couple of hexes and made their way into the heart of the Japanese defense. Of course, they have still a lot of Japanese units to destroy, and because of this bad weather, they might have problems with getting some reinforcements in the next turns. Hope that weather will be fine, will get fine in the next days. So we'll be able to get some more units, especially artillery. I need artillery to make my attacks stronger. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching and see you next time.